Mr. Garber?
Yep.
Pastor Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregor?
Yes.
Mrs. Holland?
Yes.
Dr. Ashton?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Okay, that brings us to public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening? Seeing none, that leads us to item 6, return to school plan 97.
Okay,
14.
we're gonna start with, a little deviation in the guidance. And pretend that band was a part of the guidance. And so I know we had questions for the gentleman from the music and arts department, and they have joined us this evening.
I do have a couple questions, and I know Mr. Henderson has a couple questions. I apologize for getting logged in here. I've heard from some parents that there's.
Podium. They have to go to the podium. And I apologize.
When you're at the podium, you don't have to wear your mask. Keep social distancing, but it's easier for people to hear you without having the mask on. Then we wipe it all down when you're done anyways.
Okay, cool. Are we good? Can you hear us? Good deal.
Cool.
It's so we
Hey,
can hear
folks,
you.
you're fine.
Okay.
And who are you?
Ryan Kraft, Director of Bands at Danville High School.
Jeff Thomas, Vocal Director.
Thank you. And a question?
I have heard from some of the parents who are have kids that are perhaps involved in both of your programs, the concern for the fact that there are these two huge trips around the same time. And so I wanted to have you be able to speak to how we're accommodating those kids, fundraising opportunities that could help both, so that the kids could do every opportunity. And how are you working that together? We just want a big picture and how it's going to end up with fairness to all the kids in both of your programs. And thank you, by the way, for working hard to get these extra opportunities for our students, because it's awesome.
Absolutely. On the band side of things, one of the things, the tradition here has been to travel every 4, because in between we allow the kids to, start working towards that opportunity. This year we've also, Mr. Klett has also extended the fundraising opportunities we've had this spring. As far as, I think we're in a unique situation with the pandemic, and one of the things as we're planning fundraisers for the fall is to make sure that as we calculate the revenue that we make on a fundraiser, we're gonna make sure that it's more heavily towards the student end of things versus, Boosters obviously needs money to remain fluid. And so when we travel, for example, let's say like the profit's $3 on something, generally, the Boosters and the kids split. Well, for the trip year, we always make sure that the kids get the majority of the profit, and that way they're able to work on that a little more. One of the things band-wise also that we're, and actually orchestra is also involved in the trip to Disney. And so Mr. Womack students have the opportunity to do all of our fundraisers as well. And our goal is to do fundraising that, number one, has a significant profit margin to help with offsetting those costs, but also that it is something practical. Doing large booklets of cheeses and sausages and $12 2-ounce gummy bear things are just not as effective. So we've done Danville Gardens cards this spring. This has been our absolute best year with that. We've almost sold 2,000 of them. So we're continuing to sell those, and as the kids, the more they raise, after a certain point, they get more of a profit. So right now, I probably have a couple of kids that have over half their trip paid for. So
So it is, sorry to interrupt, but it is possible for a student to literally fundraise the full trip.
absolutely.
Yes, and that is always the idea.
Yes.
And with marching band fees, with show choir fees, we know that these are some of the more expensive things to do in the district. Every year, annually, it is something that can always be taken care of 100% through fundraising. We do that every year. We do it more so, and we're more intent about the way we fundraise during trip years. But every year, there are always a majority of students who don't pay a dime out of pocket, and we like it that way. That's how we set up our fundraisers. And he was talking about choosing fundraisers that are efficient. We absolutely do that. In the last 4 or 5 years since I've been here, we have stopped doing certain fundraisers because the profit margin just wasn't there anymore. And we've got a lot of really smart, business-minded people on both of our booster boards, small business owners in town that understand these things with us. And so going forward, we did talk about, we've only had fundraisers in the last year, just currently this month between the two of us. I will say that they went much better than anticipated. Our Danville Gardens, we both did Danville Gardens fundraisers throughout the spring. And I doubled my profits from last year. He did an extraordinary, so we're both doing much better than anticipated. However, I did want to bring a couple, let's say, hesitant thoughts that my booster board did have that they wanted me to bring up. As we've been crunching numbers for this DC trip, there are a few really large fundraisers that the choir department does every year that are big question marks right now because of the COVID situation in the country, because of the restrictions on our businesses and the community and how they've been affected. There are a couple really, really large moneymakers, most notably the mid-September Forever Young concert. We bring in a professional touring ensemble with the entertainment industry where it is currently. We're not sure that will happen. That's a huge moneymaker for us. And we're also a little concerned about Midwest Classic again. As you know, this past year we weren't allowed to have that. That is the biggest thing that we do in the district as far as fundraising for our students. I am so hopeful about the idea of having a beautiful renovated auditorium. However, if there is some sort of delay at all, and we cannot open that auditorium at the very beginning of second semester, there is the potential, even if it's small, and we're not really sure what it is, it's a question mark. If we can't have the Midwest Classic for a second year, the idea of traveling across the country with students it makes my board hesitant, let's say that. To the point, and that's even being nice, to the point where we want to be really financially responsible with the decisions we make. We are honored that someone said, hey, you want to come out to DC and sing for us? And we saw Madrigals on PBS, and what a cool opportunity. Like, bring those kids out here, we'd love for you to sing with us. But we're not sure that in the state of our community and the state of the country right now, that it makes sense for our program to spend that kind of money without really concrete information on, is that September fundraiser going to do what it always has in the past? It probably will not. Midwest Classic, it's a huge question mark. So when we're talking about spending this amount of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, taking upwards of 100 kids across the country, we do have to be really financially responsible. So I do want to tell you, we have not decided whether or not we're going, and we are actually leaning in the opposite direction, maybe doing something a little bit closer that is more financially responsible, to just say that one more time. So unless somebody knows there's like a bucket of money somewhere that could help, that can help with out-of-state travel and that can help with these sort of things, we don't want to take such a big gamble. We want to maybe make smarter choices that we know will actually benefit students in the right way for this upcoming year. There are so many unknowns that we have seen in the past year, and we know that there will be future unknowns. So going forward, it is very difficult to say this is a smart decision to make, especially when our neighbors across the hall are also spending that kind of money. So as I was talking with boosters, I'm like, you can't just think about, can a kid fundraise that money or not? And especially when we're talking about the kids that we share, can the community give to two programs at the same time? And we don't want to overwhelm the community in a way that would make a business choose between who they would want to support either. So all these things are in our minds. I wanted to bring them up so that you kind of know where our board is thinking. So unless somebody has a wonderful idea or a really big checkbook, we are kind of leaning to maybe something smaller this upcoming year, which would take the stress off of those parents and those students that you're talking about.
Well, Mr. Thomas, I'm so sorry, Mr. Reader.
That's okay, go ahead.
Mr. Thomas, I'm really glad to hear that because that is a major concern. The other concern that the parents that spoke to me actually were band parents. Their concern was with the overlap that, the band only travels once every 4 years, as was mentioned. And, putting my child into a situation of having to choose again, do I go on a band trip or do I go on the choral trip? And, both are great, but you only get to go to the band with the band once every 4 years. And, what's basically, how are the directors going to respond to the choice that my child makes? So, because, if it's the whatever position, first chair of one, and you're leading soloist, I mean, that makes it tough. And, so the concern on the parents' part was,
Right.
was twofold. It was the fundraising, but it was also because of the overlap, and they would like to see their child choose to go with a band, because that's every 4 years, you know, we travel all the time with the choral department, and,
Yeah.
and I expressed, you know, that, hey, this wasn't a planned trip, this wasn't something that we asked to do, we were asked to do it. And, they understood that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was just the cooperation between the two directors, and how well will you work together to make certain that children don't feel compromised?
Of course, yeah.
So,
And that's always at the forefront of our thoughts every year as we plan things.
so thank you both for
PLCs have
coming.
been great.
Yeah.
We get so much time to actually talk about these things daily.
What are some of the things that you're considering as alternatives, Mr. Thomas?
Just like maybe an overnight in Chicago. If shows get up and running again by this spring, that'd be great to maybe do an overnight, see a show, and give the educational aspect of being able to see live performance. St. Louis has a lot of the same opportunities going to the Fox Theater, so maybe something that's connected to Illinois that really takes the finances of maybe getting a charter bus. Those are some really big, expensive items. Something that we can get to pretty quickly without taking an 18-hour trip.
And that, of course, would be something where 100 kids could go and not just 40 kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few years ago, there was an initiative to talk to alumni of your programs and have the opportunity to sponsor a student. I'd like to see that brought back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
alumni associations are great.
Yep.
I agree.
Absolutely. Just a couple things about my trip to Florida with the kids. We've decided on a travel company, and one of the things that's been very important over the last several years, or last several times I've traveled, was making sure that every kid's needs are met from the time we leave until the time we get back. And so every single meal, every single opportunity that they'll have once we reach Florida has been included in the travel price. So and we did a survey, I had 63 parents respond to the survey, which was overwhelming. Last time I did it, I was very pleased with the responses, and we took a lot of those answers, my booster board and I, we discussed all those, and we made decisions reflecting what they would like. Have a lot of parents that would like to go with, just maybe as a fan. So our travel company is going to come up with a package for parents to not only go with us like on the bus, that like we always have, but also give parents the opportunity, if they wanted to get their own transportation there, they can stay at our hotel, they can get the tickets through our travel company, and they can also do do some of their own things as well.
Does that extend to board members? Just asking.
Yeah.
Sure. So, and then when we're there, I've done the marching band application. We also are going to do a clinic. We applied for it's basically a movie recording clinic where they go in, Disney teaches, they bring a recording specialist in, and they talk about how they record the soundtracks for the movies. That is also that's band and orchestra, so they have a track for just orchestra, just band, or both, and so they have different arrangements for those. And then we're going to apply for an orchestra performance, as well as Mr. Klett is going to come and do a jazz band performance, we hope. So it's all aspects of instrumental music, so it's going to be great. We're going to have a really good opportunity to perform outside of the state of Illinois, and we're really looking forward to it.
Great. Any further questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Pleasure.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Let us know if you change. And you find that pot of money. I have a hint. At the end of the rainbow, right at the end, there's always a little guy. Yeah. Okay, we're still in return to school plan.
Sure. So what we've started doing is to include the new guidance, and anytime ISB changes their information, we're sharing it with the public and making it a part of our board meeting. So what we have for you first is the Illinois State Board of Education's return to in-person document lessons from the pandemic. This is an informational item, but there's some things I'd like to point to you. They have leveraged stakeholder input to provide instructional recommendations for returning to in-person for the fall. What they did want us to know is that the first lesson, and what they deemed or told us was their most important lesson, was that human welfare comes first. I think Molly says it best. She tells Maslow before Bloom, yeah. And you know, the taxonomy, Bloom, okay, teaching thing. Anyway, so human welfare comes first, and they want to make sure that we keep that in the forefront. Resources and considerations for the district, because this, along with what I'll talk about next, that P20, and I know we have a lot of acronyms in education, but I can't fix that one for you. The document is called P20. Financial considerations going forward. They want us to use what they call ESSER, their words. Everyone Succeeds Act, we called it CARES, COVID money, 3 different pots. We'll now be addressing the COVID or the ESSER 3 money. They want us to create a document, align it to our school improvement plans, use this P20 that I'll talk about next. They want us to layer the money that we've received, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, kind of braid them within so that we can address our needs. They are mandating that 20% of the money that they give us address learning loss, something new for ISB that we can actually supplant. And what that means is, once upon a time when we received grant money, if I was already paying for a bus, I could not take this grant money and now pay for that bus. That's called supplanting. We were given the charge to supplement. That's no longer an issue. So now some of the things we were once doing, I can use this ESSER 3 money and pay for those things, so you can supplant. They would like us to consider using the funds for new constructions, renovations, or the acquisition of property that will aid in cleaning, sanitation, improve our air quality, and improve social distancing within our district. Examples that they used: classroom additions, new buildings, HVAC renovations, outdoor seating, bathroom renovations, cafeteria renovations. You'll find that all listed on page 14. Some other things they'd like us to consider as we go to return to school: transportation, health and welfare of our families, family and community engagement programs. In the area of instruction, they would like us to consider extending the school year or day, strengthening summer school opportunities, provide summer transition programs. Under the area of equity and inclusion, they would like us to consider community engagement liaisons, multi-tiered systems of support, social emotional learning partnerships, mental health partnerships, staff engagement opportunities around education and training, family engagement opportunities. That's just kind of an overview of what ISB has provided for us as we look to return to school and use what is called ESSER 3 money. Feel free to take a look. We made a link to it on our website. Again, guiding document on how we bring our schools back and how we use the CARES money. Any questions about the return to in-person document lessons from the pandemic before I go on to the P20? Nope, okay. Well, did I take the appropriate pause? I'm sorry. So I wanted to highlight this because as the Board of Education comes together, they want you to know what informs their decisions and how we will choose to use that ESSER money. We're going to take it straight from the guidance. Okay. Now let's talk about P20. The Illinois State Board of Education developed with some of their learning partners a P20 Council for Learning Renewal. They gave us a resource guide. This document outlines 12 priority topic areas, again, for focusing the spending of our ESSER money. The document is not meant to be read from cover to cover. It is meant to be used. I think it is, how many pages?
184.
184 pages. They suggest that as a district, we take 3 to 5 of our biggest challenge areas and focus on addressing that using this information. The Board of Education is going to go and digest it. We've made it available for the public. We do have information from the small insight group that we have in Mr. Denman's group. And when we looked at that document as a team, 4 themes began to emerge from the surveys that we have and, the school improvement plans, the district improvement plans. we could find 4 themes. I'm gonna say 4. We really have 6, but I'm a partner 2 to be able to say that I stayed within the 4. Is that called cheating? Not really. When you look at this document, if you could take a look at chapter 1, they ask that you support enrollment, retention, and re-engagement with community initiatives for academic progression. What does that look like, you ask? Well, maybe that looks like a pre-K center, or maybe that looks like expanding alternative education. I don't know, just some ideas that off the top of my head. Chapter 2, build individualized student fact base within academic and behavior diagnostics and progress monitoring. That is a big conversation that our teachers are having because we want to know where the gaps are in this season. Mr. Hart and Dr. Jacoby are going to follow me to talk about what we've learned so far when we look to do diagnoses and our status. We also ask you to look maybe at chapter 4 where it says provide out-of-classroom learning experiences through tutoring. This thing is hurting my chin. Through tutoring, before and after school opportunities, and summer camps. And when we talk about our summer school, you'll see some new things that we're trying to do. Chapter 7 asks us to focus on mental wellness and trauma-informed, culturally responsive schools. Mental wellness, health clinics, things like that, partnerships. Those are examples of some things we could do. They also ask us in chapter, so I'm going to merge 10 and 12, where it says to increase flexibility of secondary, post-secondary, and the post-secondary environment to accommodate other responsibilities. That's that whole CTE, work-based, focus on those areas and try to grow those. So just maybe 4 things that you'd like to look at when you sit down and peruse the 184-page document. Just kind of target you and see how some of the things that as a district we said we need, where they show up in this document. The Board of Education, this is informational only. The board is going to digest it and give us direction. We're going to reconvene the staff transition team to have input. That's why it's public for everyone. Take a look at it. We're going to reconvene the parent transition team to get their input. The student transition team, we're going to do mine. Tracy Cherry will do hers, and the elementary buildings are going to do their parent or student advisory committees that they have with the principals. We'll synthesize all this information. We will publish it for comments because the ESSER 3 money requires that we have a 30-day publishing period where the public has the ability to comment on the spending of the money. So, any questions on P20?
What's your timeline?
Oh, we have to get this done June 30th. You know, it's June. Yeah,
By June 30th is the deadline?
that's when we can
That
start.
is be
the-
turned in, the report turned in to them.
So June 30th, once they give you the money, your application needs to be in June 30th. And then when they give you the money, you have 30 days to make sure you have a comment period done. It's quick. 184 pages.
240.
So it had to be done by June 30th. Comments, but way before that.
The comments we can get done after the June 30th. We have to get some sort of plan.
Yeah.
You know, when you start to put your ideas together from all of these groups that'll come together, we put this plan out, and then we have a 30-day comment period. June 30th is the target date that they would like us to have this stuff out.
Okay, you made reference to the fact that the strategic plan committee, headed by Mr. Denman and others, you would look at what their recommendations were on their plan. We still need a presentation from them to the board
We do.
on that plan. Also, what, will you incorporate anything from the Liz Small report in the planning stages of this? She had a lot of good recommendations.
I actually referenced her first. That's what
Oh,
I said.
did I
first.
miss it? Sorry.
It's okay.
I would hope that they both live together. You know, the student committee and Liz Small, I consider that
They say
kind
a
of
lot-
married to each other.
They say a lot of the same things.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of work to do.
Yep.
Good luck.
Well, the first starts with the Board of Education discussing and choosing
That's us.
priorities. Choosing
So we have a lot of work to do. That is awesome.
Next, we would like to discuss with you, as we try to focus our summer, as they have indicated in both the P20 and the return to in-person, we want to take a look at our non-participatory data. What does that mean? We have a list of students in this COVID season who have participated in our remote learning, our blended programs, those who've showed up often, regularly, consistently, those who have not shown up, and those who have done very well. And we'd like to have a discussion about that. I have some numbers for you.
Shall I start speaking?
So you start speaking, there you go.
Okay. What Dr. Geddes is passing around is exactly that. It's information from each school based on how students are attending, participating, and this is actually a simplified way of looking at it because you could actually look, we have kids that are in pods now that are, some of them are in person 5-6 hours a day, and then you have other kids that may be online 3 hours a day. So when you talk about learning loss, as Dr. Geddes just did, and being able to address that, we have to know exactly who we're looking at for learning loss. So as you'll see, your front page is Edison School. So Edison School, there's non-participatory. So we really looked at kids that were not really getting a hold of. They registered for school and they really didn't show up very much. And that was with efforts through, in the last board meeting, we talked about home interventionists, using our SROs, principals knocking on doors, home interventionists. So that's kind of that group. This group we put a lot into and we're not getting a lot back. And then the second group that you're looking at inconsistent participation. And again, maybe logging on, maybe not logging on, having their camera on, never responding. So there's somebody in the room, but we don't know who. So there's a group of kids there, and then we do have students that are participating, and so they may be participating remotely, and they're just not meeting the standards, or they're meeting in person, not really meeting the standards, so we have that group. And then the group that's not listed, which I did the math, and Dr. Gibbs did the math, to figure out who is participating and what percentage of kids are on target where we think they should be. And Mrs. Clinton would be very upset if I didn't mention that a student is not meant to meet all the grade level standards this year. They're attending part-time, so maybe 3 hours a day. So priority standards, yes, that's what they're held accountable. So we're gonna look at how students differ from the pack, from the group of kids that have consistently participated in school.
So Mr. Hart, I want to make sure I'm clear because I'm not
Sure.
sure I understood. There's a missing, okay, there are four different categories.
There are three.
And the fourth, well,
The fourth one is, yes, the fourth ones are those that are participating, I'm sorry.
okay, so these are just the ones that we're having challenges with?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and these are all students that are on the remote portion of the
No,
blended?
they could be remote, they could be in person, they could be a combination.
Okay,
They
so
could be a
this
pod.
includes kids that perhaps have registered or enrolled in person but aren't coming?
Either in person or virtual and not participating.
Okay, thank you.
And that helps a bunch, actually.
Or
At
wait,
Edison, if
there's
you
also,
look on the
you
left-
could be participating and not doing well, which is that third column.
Right.
So you could be in person and still not doing well. And we'd
Okay.
like
Or
you-
virtually and not doing well. So really you have lots of groups coming back and you
Sorry,
have
I'm in
kids at
your-
lots of
right.
different levels, which even complicates things more. It's easy for, an outsider to look and say they either attended, they didn't attend, if they were remote, in person, is there really that much difference? Our teachers will tell you, yes, there's a lot of difference between those that are participating in person and those are participating virtually. So let's take Edison, for example. So there are 227 kids that registered to attend school, and that's in the far left in red. And of those kids, they track down everybody, so they're participating in some way. They have zeros all the way from kindergarten to fourth grade. So inconsistent participation, and this is, sometimes I show up, sometimes I don't show up, sometimes I log on, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have my camera on, so that's kind of those kids. And there's 25 of those kids that have been identified by Edison School. And then you have the students that are participating but are still behind standards where we would expect them to be. And so if you add up those numbers, that's like 38 students that they're watching now. So for the most part, we're talking about 72% of the kids that are on task. They're there, they're doing what we would expect, they're where that's kind of the herd that we talk about. That's that pack that we need to follow. So there's 28% of students that we need to intervene with. That's a lot of students in coming back. So that's what we're gonna talk about, is how we're gonna intervene with these students. And I won't go through every school. Obviously, you have the data in front of you.
But we know who they are.
We know who they are. I think that
Every
is the
building
most important
principal.
thing, and Ms. Brooks isn't here, but like today, we were asking for numbers. She sent me a list of the kids. I'm like, I don't need the kids, but it's nice to know. We know exactly who they are, where they're performing. We tested the kids both in person and remotely, but we know that there's more assessment that needs to come.
And that's how you've determined the areas of weakness on
That is
the,
correct.
okay.
So that's like unit tests in English language arts or math, science, social studies, and also on standardized tests as well. So we do fast bridge testing, and so we have that data as well. We're getting ready to test students again. And Dr. Jacoby is gonna lead us into then what do we do with all this information?
Wait.
What are we gonna do with these kids?
Before we do that, let's stop and digest, because that's a lot of information. Do you have any questions about this so far?
Yes,
Yes.
I'll start. And I should probably be last, but I won't. I'm only curious about the standardization of the rating system because I have school to school to school, and obviously different people are rating their participation rate. Obviously you did a great job of trying to standardize that, but just walk me through in 30 seconds or less.
I like the 30 seconds or less.
Yeah.
So the non-participatory, really, we looked at kids that were 5 times or less.
Yeah.
These are the ones we talked about sending the SROs to the houses. We chased these people all
So that's
all over
just
the
a
place.
number.
Those are easy
These are
ones.
pretty strict number things, and
Yeah, those
so
are
it's cut and dry that way.
Kind of lost, to be quite
Yeah.
honest with you. We can't find them.
So that enrollment number, let's look at Edison again, is 227. Those are 227 non-participatory students.
No, those are 200, just total.
That's
just
total enrollment.
Yeah.
Total enrollment for this.
Okay.
So we get an idea of what kind of
And they
percentage.
found all
Right,
their
right.
kids.
But then why are there all the zeros at the grade levels when
Because they didn't have
obviously
anybody
They've all
not
been
participating.
found.
they've all been
They've been
participating?
located.
Oh,
And that is not, that doesn't hold true for some of the other schools that
Yeah.
we look. I'm going for the 30 seconds or less. Inconsistent participation and the teachers could tell you just as easily as we could. These are the kids, we don't know what they're doing. They don't turn in things, they don't, sometimes they're on the bus, sometimes they're not on the bus. They're out there. We're looking at kids that are chronic truancy, probably 20% absences or better. And then participating student, honestly, these are kids that are coming in person or participating every day through remote opportunities. Some kids even 5 or 6 hours a day, and they're just behind at grade level standards.
Okay.
So those are the 3 areas.
And the importance of this data is so when there were concerns about kids being lost, kids falling through the cracks,
Yeah.
we wanted to ensure you that we had taken the time to identify every single student and figure out where they are on the spectrum.
This is great. Okay.
So
Thank you.
now, what do we do with those children? We have I'm sorry, you had something, Mr. Dobbs?
I'm sorry.
This charge for the Edison enrollment of 227, does that include pre-K?
No, because it's K to 4. We did K to 4 data at all the elementaries.
Okay, so you don't have data for pre-K.
No.
Okay.
I'd just like, before you move on, I know our building principals did a lot of work putting this together.
Tons, and
And
some
so-
of the teachers, they
Yeah, and the
couldn't have,
teachers,
they couldn't
so-
have accomplished it without the teachers, so.
Yes,
it's
so
been
thank
huge.
you to our staff for that.
And our home interventionists actually did a lot of work on
They
this,
did.
these forms as well.
And they're the ones who ought to know who these kids
And
are.
they keep updating it, so we do appreciate that as well.
So now we need to have a plan. What do we do? There are children who haven't come at all. We have a kind of a matrix for you. So here you go. Laminated. Here is one for K4.
K-8,
I'm sorry, I did 9-12 first.
K-8 and 9-12.
And 9-12,
too.
they are the
The
same.
light blue box on the right will tell you what grade level you're looking at.
At the
They are,
top,
I think,
it says
different.
K-8
No,
or
they're really not.
912.
They're the 12.
They're
Same thing?
just a little
Nine
tweaked.
to 12.
Okay, they both look
Or you-
exactly the same. If you look at the screen or in front of you, my grateful thanks to my colleague, Ms. Bailey, who did a wonderful job on the flow chart, because we realize that during this pandemic, you have a year of learning loss. And the state is charging the district with the task of creating a multi-tiered, multi-year plan of how we are going to address learning loss. And one of the biggest pieces, as we discussed as a leadership team and with our teachers or principals, is the lack of information we have on some of our students. We don't have learning information on some students, particularly students who never logged in or logged in 2 or 3 times. You don't have any information. As a teacher, it's very difficult to be able to intervene when I don't have enough information. So the flow chart in front of you really takes an approach of, okay, we have our categories of students, and you've already discussed those and the data that we're working with. What are we gonna do with those students that absolutely did not participate at all? Well, the first thing we need to do is get information. We don't know what to do with them or how to intervene until we assess them. Very briefly, I feel really bad for Dr. Help me with her name.
Watkins.
Dr. Watkins. She is wonderful. She is going to help us not only utilize assessment and assessment data, but create district norms to look at so that we're being accurate. For those of you that don't know her, she's out of special education office. She's incredible. She's done an incredible amount of work already. But there's a feeling that we are not a feeling, it's going down, folks. People at home too. If you did not show up, you will not be registering for this district next year until we get some information on you to be able to place you so that we know where you're at on the continuum for learning, because we are charged with your learning. So for non-participatory students right now, we want to provide an assessment initially, and as Mr. Hart already pointed out, we use FastBridge. We have some other assessment pieces that Dr. Watkins can also recommend for us. We'll review the data, and then we will look at how is that student performance compared to their grade level peers. If they are similar to what we are experiencing with students who absolutely have attended, then you wouldn't be punitive if they can demonstrate that they have mastery. You would move them to the next grade level, but you would definitely have an instructional plan with supports. And that's basically a healthy approach to learning. This is not about butts in seats, seat time. And I get it, it's different. Welcome to the pandemic. This is about addressing learning loss. And some students may have experienced learning in a different way, or they weren't with us, but we can't penalize them for that. We have to assess them, get the data, and be able to say with absolute conviction, they can go to the next grade level because they are with our students who we saw, and we're gonna move them and then provide supports. I think the bigger piece the board needs to know with any student, all of our students, as a result of being in the pandemic, are gonna need instructional supports. We are going to have to work differently than we've worked before. Approaches in instruction, approaches in what we teach, how we teach it, is going to look different. And it will continue to layer over 3 years to close the gaps in the learning loss. Obviously, if we have students that have not attended, missed the whole grade, nothing, absolutely are significantly behind their peers, our recommendation is they would repeat the previous grade level, again, with instructional plans and supports. We are mandating summer school for students to be able to move to the next grade level, or we are suggesting summer school to have them start learning. You can't hear me?
Use your microphones.
My mic is on.
Both you and Hart. I was actually talking to Hart.
Oh, okay, well, I have one on here and one on here. Use that one.
You
Okay,
can use both.
okay.
Keep going.
Okay, so then we have, what do we do with our students that participated minimally? And a note that I want the board to understand is that English and mathematics are emphasized in this review of data. And I am not saying that science and social studies aren't important. I'm not saying that writing isn't important. English, I put writing in there. But truly, if students struggle with reading and don't have basic literacy abilities or even sophisticated literacy abilities, they will not be successful necessarily in a content area, social studies or science. So we recognize that this flow chart absolutely embraces the fact that we are looking at English language arts and math, and I should have said that up front. So our students that participate minimally, again, we're reviewing data from teachers, from what they have, as well as what we have from other local assessments, reviewing it, getting more data if we need it, then developing an instructional plan to support. We are saying mandatory summer school. By the way, let's talk, and I'm slipping summer school data in there. And again, for parents at home, summer school absolutely is recommended for any student this year. It was an unusual year. There are going to be gaps in learning. We invited 806 students in grades kindergarten through 8th grade to attend summer school. We received 505 permission slips back with parents wanting their student
Nice
to
job,
attend.
parents.
That is an all-time high. We have never had that many embrace it. 432 parents were adamant they want their students in person, and 73 asked for a virtual option. I do have the summer school information broken down by grade level. If you want, I can provide that to the board just so that they can see trends. And then the last group, and I'm sorry, I'll go back up here. Okay. Students participated, and obviously this is our pack, or what we call our norm pack. They participated, but maybe they need additional supports because, you know, I came every day. I was online. I was with you. I participated, but I still struggled. We're going to review the data on those students, develop an individualized support plan for them, and move them to the next grade level. So that is in grades K through 8. Any questions? And I'll be really brief with 9 through 12 because we've been doing 9 through 12 for a while.
What does that individualized support plan look like?
An individualized support plan, as Mr. Hart already indicated, our students only received focused standards because we didn't have them but 3 hours a day for some students. So we identify the teachers, fill them out when they're recommending that this student needs this plan, and they tell us, okay, these are the areas that they really need support in. The plan's written, it travels with the student to summer school. The summer school staff is using it, and basically it's housed in the curriculum office. Mary Ellen Button would do a much better job explaining it than I would if she was here. But basically, that plan follows the student, even follows the student the next school year, so that we can really be focused and succinct in what we are offering the student and being able to see progress and growth in closing the gaps in knowledge. And then we look at the next year about adjusting that plan. And if we have to do adjustments, we make adjustments.
So when you say individualized, you mean individualized.
We have
and it's
a
not cookie
standard
cutter at all.
template for any student that we have said is non-participatory. You wouldn't even fill out that plan until we get data.
Right.
But for students who participate minimally or participated and still struggled, we will have those plans filled out before the end of the year on each student.
Great.
So for the non-participatory student, who does the assessment? I mean, that kid may not even show up till registration. So, right? I mean, they haven't shown up all year.
Well, they can't attend if they don't register.
Right.
So
they
what we're
show up
going
at
to do is
registration.
flag these students. They have not attended. When they try to register, they will not be allowed to register, so that we hope that fosters the conversation of, please come in. We're going to assess you at the Jackson Building, and I'll register you right after I assess you.
That's my question. And then the next step is the individual plan. which would be done by the classroom teacher once the assessment is finished?
Once the assessment is done, that's where we'll utilize Dr. Watkins, we would utilize Mary Ellen Bunton, we would utilize staff that would help us over the summer potentially working.
Okay, do you have the staff at the Jackson Building to administer the assessment? Say everybody shows up, you get a lot of kids.
Well, we would
We could
obviously,
do a room, you would schedule a room.
You
It's
s-
it's
yeah.
electronic, so it's a computer-based program.
Okay.
And so we would look at kids with similar deficits, try to kind of group them together, and hopefully they would be on a similar plan, and that's what the program would look like as they move forward. And Dr. Jacoby's all about flagging those registrations. She had it figured out, so.
yep.
it will
So
work.
they will not be able to
Nobody will
register
get
if
past
they didn't
Ms.
attend.
Robinson or Dr. Jacoby.
Arrows on the floor right to Dr. Jacoby.
Yes, these two are.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at the 9-12 plan, it looks very, very similar to what we had for K-8. Again, we're focusing on credits and the ability to earn credits, which is a little bit different at 9-12 than it is K-8. We're going to prioritize, instead of ELA, which ELA is a part of it, instead of English language arts and math, we're prioritizing graduation requirements. Okay, where are you at? How many do you need? That's what we're focusing on, and that's what we're working on. The process is very, very similar, but what I really applaud the high school and what they've been doing is we have been trying to intervene with academic learning ability or lack thereof by doing night owls, credit recoveries, and trying to jump in early and often with intervention, and that will continue. And that plan, we talked about, guess what? If you didn't show up, you're in mandated early bird class, you're coming in and you have to have mandated math tutoring because we're gonna, give you another geometry section that you struggled with and it's mandated. You have to come. This is your plan. So we're gonna be utilizing assessment at the high school level. We use KTEA, I believe, right now, when we assess students who come in without information. But process is very much the same. The intervention and support looks a little different in the fact, like I said, a student might have an intervention mandated tutoring early bird, but be enrolled in a course, credit recovery, night owl. The high school staffs had some really interesting and innovative ideas. Everything from a math lab that a student could drop in and get instantaneous help. I just need math teachers, any good ones, send them my way. But
Or
that's,
the opportunity to finish a course that they're already in, so somebody
Summer,
may not
yeah.
finish, so hopefully.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that will be key.
Last summer,
Maybe have
this,
a couple weeks left.
right, we're gonna continue the practice of last summer, the state was very clear saying, if students struggled and they have missing assignments, give them an incomplete. Give them time in the summer, let them finish those assignments, work with them, get them to where they earn the credit, and then move on. We will continue that practice as well with our students.
So that student's plan would be, I'm in algebra, and there are certain areas that I need. So that's what I would focus on in summer school in order to pass that course.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I need.
And we are really, again, so that people listening at home, summer school is not an option for some students. It will be written in their plan that it is mandatory. Now, understanding that student success and academic success is based on our best supports for students, and we hope that the parents and families at home are listening, that we are there for the kids. We want them to be successful, and we absolutely have their best interest. I'm not out to buzzkill anybody's summer, but we've had learning loss. We need to address it.
So what, if any, accommodations are being made for the successful virtual learner in a return to school plan?
Well, right now, virtual would look as one of our teachers, potentially. I think I have to do variation on the theme with that because I have some students, for example, if I'm one of those students that we talked about that I need 5 more units or assignments to do, that can be facilitated by a teacher. But if I'm a student who needs a whole year of a course, that might be facilitated with a learning platform third party. Does that make sense? And we would want our teachers really working one-on-one with our students to get the credit that they've already signed up for.
So we're not looking at the option of having, say, like, I believe the Bloomington School District, a virtual school for those kiddos that learn way better on the computer as opposed to being in the classroom. We're not looking at any options. I mean, what did we learn in the pandemic about that? What,
Well, in the guidance, they actually do talk about that as a consideration. And so if we decide to expand our alternative program, it could fit in there nicely. And so maybe that is something, because we have found there are a number of students who have performed substantially better under the virtual platform, and maybe we want to continue that. ISB has said two different things about the demand, the requirement, not required to do so. So we don't even know exactly what will be mandated of us. But as we look to expand alternative education, that is certainly something we should consider.
I
I'm
think
glad to
the,
hear that, and it's not, those particular students are not our behavior problems, they're not our attendance problems. They just perform better on that platform.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
recognize that, and we are going to try to
Support
address
them.
that.
Yep.
In their household.
Truly alternative
And-
education.
right, and with that, the only, obviously, a live teacher is always the best, even remotely. Our staffing patterns drive. Do we have the staff? Is there staff available? That is something we will have to work out. Anyway, so that's it. I tried to be as brief. Sorry.
Any more questions? This is good.
Yeah, any more
Oh,
questions?
I do. I understand that we're giving this information tonight. But we also know that probably 80% of our parents are not watching this board meeting. So how do we get this information to them?
Very good question. So we've begun the practice this school year. I will do a newsletter that will go out to staff, and I'll reiterate that, and then we will do the Facebook. I'll send it out via Facebook, and then we will get it on our website. And then I do a phone blast to tell them that we send it to you, put it on Facebook, and it's on the website.
And your parent meeting and student.
Oh, and then I have a parent meeting, and then my student meeting, and so.
We should be telling them. Okay, anything else?
Do you have am I missing something? You think I should do something different?
No, that was my question.
Anything else? You touched summer school? You did summer school in there? Okay, yeah, that was your mention on summer
That
school?
was, yes.
Well done.
Okay, well, that's a lot. P20, everybody get a
did it.
copy and, yeah, you get a copy and read it.
No, not front to back.
No.
Cover to cover, they say, don't do that.
No,
Oh,
don't
no,
do
no,
that.
no, you read it front to, and read it. I suggest take out 40, 30 pages a night. It's great reading. It's easily digestible, and it takes care of that nonfiction.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good luck.
I'm riveted. Okay, 6D.
This evening, we're asking, last school year, the Board of Education was so gracious under this pandemic to waive the student registration fee. And so as we begin to plan for the new school year and registration, we're asking that you consider doing the same for the 2021-2022 school year.
I recommend we do last on the fees.
We have a motion to approve. You have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to waive school fees. This isn't show choir
School
fees.
registration fees.
Okay, I just want, we had this discussion. I don't want people thinking that they're off the hook for some of these other things, but for school registration fees. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Bobbles?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Strayer?
Yes.
Pastor Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Ashton?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Brings us to item 7, job description for media specialist.
Good evening, Board.
With a
Dr. Gaddis.
recommendation.
Kim Pabst here from Human Resources.
Thank you.
This is a recommendation for our library media specialist job description. It has been updated basically to foster and to show more of a role of the media specialist to work with the LRCs in the district for a more cohesive relationship and bringing in a lot of the technology pieces that we've learned through the past year that we need to have in place. So again, this is just a recommendation for an updated job description.
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second for recommendation for the library media specialist, correct? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Pierce,
Yes.
Mrs. Schrader,
Yes.
Mr. Dawes,
Yes.
Pastor Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Henderson,
Yes.
Dr. Ashley.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was very good. Brings us to any informational items, and
I didn't do all mine on the superintendent comments.
we'll then go right into superintendent.
But last time we had board with informational items.
Yes,
Oh,
we do.
well then, inform us.
We have, a committee had the charge of looking for an evaluation instrument for the superintendent. And I think, Mrs. Howard and I would like to just update you on, our search. And, I'm really excited about it. I know that there was, I'm the work smarter, not harder person. And since there was a recommendation out there from Illinois Superintendent Association, we, as we said in the last meeting, we took a look at that instrument. But in the meantime, we have interviewed some of the districts in the state of Illinois that have begun to use this instrument. And of the people that I talked to, they're very excited about it because it is an easy instrument to use. It is something that follows along with the goals that both from the board and from the superintendent, so that it keeps us on the same page. But the thing that I liked about it is we also asked about the board for us to look at ourselves. And that is something that was also in our charge. And this instrument can also be used to do that. So I'm very excited about it, and I think that it is something that we can look at, I hope, expanding down the road that can be used for other departments as well as for the superintendent.
I spoke with two different superintendents. One is a 14-year veteran, and one was in her very first year. And the contract with this Super Eval platform had been done to her, not with her. So she had a lot to say, a lot of really helpful things that that we need to pay attention to, and that we need to ask the consultant and clarify with the consultant before we sign on the dotted line. She suggests it's definitely worth a try. It's aligned to standards. And it forces the board to do most of the work in competency section. Both superintendents said there's a lot of upfront work for the superintendent, and data, it's based on data that is provided through this platform and data that the board presents on the platform. So that requires a lot of front-end work, they told me. But it's a baseline tool for professional behavior for both the board and the superintendent. And one superintendent felt like it was a little expensive, but they both said that it's well worth the money spent. So it was useful to talk to superintendents who use it, and useful to both of these people were very interesting. I could have talked with them all day long. So I was happy to hear what they said and what advice they gave to follow in terms of what we need to ask the consultant prior to our approving the program.
And the only thing I would add is that this this instrument or this platform allows the superintendent to be able to work toward goals and submit pieces of evidence of the work that she has done into will become a portfolio, so that we are actually assessing things that have been pre-agreed upon and that are aligned, as Mrs. Holleran said, to standards. And then we have a whole body of work to be able to assess at the end of the evaluation time. And I also talked to 2 different superintendents who were quite enthusiastic about the ease of it. And it's actually $2,000. So that's we had pretty good deal.
It's a better deal than the one superintendent got. I can tell you, the one that thought it was expensive.
Well, we were quoted $2,000, and there were some additional add-ons for $600 for a different piece. So what was quoted to us was very affordable. And he was even going to work with us in some other ways as of some beta testing for some things if we decide to go that direction. So we worked a good deal with him.
Can we ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
Okay. So a couple questions here. You looked at it for the evaluation of the superintendent, and this is my secondary question, but I'll ask it now. But you found out that we could also do our board evaluation with it.
Yeah.
I would love to see you compare some of the other board evaluation instruments then, if we go with that, to see how that stacks up. And then, did you talk to any board members, or did you only talk to superintendents?
I just talked to superintendents, but I was offered the opportunity to speak to their board members should I choose. They were more than welcoming in terms of calling back with any other questions or any other information that we needed.
I had the same experience,
Yeah.
and I do have an email out to a board member. I just haven't heard back. It was a board president, and they're busy, as you know.
Cutting their lawn.
Yeah.
They're watering the grass.
I think that we are, this Super Eval is an outfit out of New York, and we would be the first if we decide to use it for a board self-evaluation, it would be a platform to do that. And then to be able to discuss it, of course, we would need to put that into kind of a board retreat or into a process that we would be able to do that. But we had thought it would give us a good chance to get our individual thoughts together and then be able to speak from that. And Dr. Bailey, who was the consultant who talked to us, he said that he would be, I wrote it down, he said that he would be willing to let us do that for free this year to beta test that piece of it. So
Well, in
no other
fairness,
school district-
he wants a foot in the door in
Yes.
Illinois, because there is no other
Yeah.
school district using
Yes.
this for the board platform. So, that should be worth a try.
yes, and that's
Yeah,
all
but
over.
the district I spoke to about that, they were really kind of surprised about that board part. And I go, well, let me put it this way. It's not open to everyone. Because, we're gonna be the one that piloted it. So, I would say give us a year and then you can ask them about it. So, it was a kind of thing we kind of worked out for us.
But the three of you agree that it's a good deal.
Yes,
I
Okay.
do.
yes.
And we have the ability to use it I could use it for my administrative team as well, same platform.
Got that. And did you run across others you went, no? I mean, did you look at other ones and you said, this isn't for us, or you just came across this one and this looked good?
We came across this one. I looked out on the site for some other, but they were not, and I know that there was some information that was put together as writing our own.
Yeah.
But what I was most interested in something that had already been tried and true. Because sometimes when you write your own, it becomes so subjective that because it is computer-based, because every board member will have an opportunity to go in and answer the same questions the same way, and we do not weigh it, the computer does. And so I I like the fact that it kind of, and you are the only person, the board president would be the only person that gets that information. And that would be, as a,
You think
very
you're busy
different.
now.
But it
Yeah.
gives us a total feedback, but the computer puts together the final result. So that was my idea of why it looked like something that we would work for us. Like Mrs. Halloran said, there's some questions we need to go back to Brian with, because we need to, one person told us you can only do it once. When we originally talked to him, we let him know, what our parameters were, and he said we could do it that way. So we just need to make sure of that before we.
The other thing I would just add is that when speaking to Dr. Larry Maynard, who's the Oakwood superintendent, he was charged with actually researching an evaluation instrument for the superintendent there. They had been through a process, and their board just thought it didn't give them enough of a not this, but of the process that we had before. It was a fine instrument, but it didn't give them an opportunity for growth and expanded communication and board relationships. So he did a lot of research. So, and this is what he landed upon. And so I had an extensive conversation about the research that he did, and for many reasons, even better than the one that even the IASB, he preferred it to, based on what his research bore out.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, any other questions, comments?
On this or for board comments?
Information.
It's for informational.
Yeah,
items.
we're
Okay,
informational.
Sorry.
So, Dr. Geddes,
Yep, information.
and
So
we will follow.
on Monday, May 24th, I just want to remind parents, because we need to take advantage of this. Currently, we only have 21 people signed up. The Carl Mobile Health Unit will park at Danville High School from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Parents, you can take advantage of this opportunity to get physicals, immunizations, sports physicals, and be seen for medical reasons. So please take advantage of this. Molly, we have it on Facebook. We have the information on Facebook. And,
Dr. Geddes,
and, yes, ma'am.
before you go on, this morning on one of the news center, the CDC came out and said if parents need to know this, if students are not updated on their immunizations, they cannot take the vaccine. So our parents need to know that. You can't just go, and get your kids vaccinated if they are still needing some type of shots.
I haven't seen that yet. I did read that you can't receive certain vaccinations and the COVID vaccine in a certain amount of time.
30 days between.
Yeah.
Miss, can you stand, can you come?
I can have it.
Card has a copy.
Look, this is what you want.
This?
There's your two.
Oh. So if you, where is it? I just read it.
There's a period of time
A period
between
of
another vaccination and this vaccination.
Yes,
And I think it's
yes.
2 weeks.
I believe so. 14 days, yes.
That's 2 weeks.
So you wouldn't be able to, and if it does open up, I'm not trying to steal Dr. Guess's.
Right, because that's my next one. Like,
I
do
know it.
not do that.
So at this point right now, we still have 291 students who are non-compliant for this school year. That doesn't count all the students who in about 3 months need to be compliant as well. So we have a lot of kiddos. Our nurses, I can't even list all the things that they've done. They've sent letters, they've made phone calls, we've sent the Sky Alert messages, they've gotten Google numbers, so they're texting parents. It's been on Facebook, it's been out, so they have done everything they possibly can. They're calling parents to try to sign them up for this Carl mobile unit.
It's a great opportunity if you don't have
It
your
is.
child immunized, to get them
Yes.
immunized with the mobile clinic. And
Yeah,
then that gives
absolutely.
time the rest of the summer to get the
Yes.
Pfizer vaccine, so
At,
we're good to
at
go.
this point, I would imagine pediatricians will be filling up for summer already if you're trying to make an appointment, and then you won't be compliant for August. And then also, it's hard sometimes to get immunizations, and so that they offer that, that's amazing because that's hard as well.
Now's the time.
And sports physicals, Mr. Bases was super excited about it as well.
So all of those things are available at Danville High School from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Monday, May 24th, which is an asynchronous day. So parents,
Excuse me, Dr.
please.
Davis, is this a one-time offer? Do we know if this is not?
So, no, actually, so I've been working with Dr. Manili and Dr. Basante to do something different and to have it just a little more regularly, but right now, that's what I have.
Okay, thank you.
We have the possibility, I've talked to her about bringing it back in August, but we needed to find out what registration and all of that looked like first before I made any definite plans.
And it will be hard for them to justify, what did you say the numbers signed up now?
21.
To have 21 students show up to justify bringing that mobile clinic here.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count on it coming back if we don't really
If we
take
can't
advantage
generate-
of this first.
That's
And-
an excellent point. Did you hear that? Don't count on it coming back. This is your shot. It's one shot.
Yeah.
So you better do it now.
How many
Oh, did you
spaces
get that a pun? It says your shot.
We
I
have
got it.
100 spaces available and we've only used 21.
You can use that, Ross.
We have how much space?
100.
So you have 80 slots open, basically.
Mhm.
And they won't cut back if they're not busy.
So to piggyback, that's a nice segue into, thank you, Melissa Rome. We are planning a vaccination clinic for 12 to 17-year-olds. We thought today we would be able to pull the trigger, but unfortunately, IDPH has not updated the registration system we use. So right now, it won't let you in if you are under 17.
Oops.
But the plan is to fix that tomorrow, and I have a board meeting tonight. So I'm gonna tell you about it tonight, knowing that there's still a hiccup, right? Mark Denman Elementary School on Saturday, May 22nd. We will need you to register in the system as soon as it is available, and I hope that is available tomorrow. Students will be eligible for the second shot on June 12th, which is a Saturday. This is the Pfizer shot for 12 to 17-year-olds, a vaccination clinic, Mark Denman, for Danville students. We are asking that a parent must attend with the student. And you have to give parental consent, and we're asking that only one parent come with the student so that we can maintain social distancing requirements. This is important, a game changer in helping us get our kids back. But again, IDPH has not quite fixed the system to allow you to register. I'm hoping that's fixed in the morning. Melissa Rome, thank you for all that you are doing for us. Just coming forward, I want to have this conversation because we're going to need to do something different in June. The number of people participating at our food distributions at the 3 locations has decreased substantially. And so if the numbers continue to go down, we are going to look to maybe consolidate. Because when I have maybe 8 cars come through an entire night at a site, it is just going to be easier resource-wise to consolidate. So considerations for June and July, we're going to look to see our next distribution and see how that goes. I did want to update you on some legislation. Thank you for those of you who reached out to the legislators that Senate Bill 654, which is the playtime bill, that I'm going to rename it playtime bill, with the 1 hour of mandated structured play that did not count as PE, has been amended, and now it will be 30 minutes K-5. No middle school mandate, still says unstructured, but it's better than what we had when they wanted it K-8, supervised and unstructured, in the middle of a day that, we didn't have additional
For 1 hour.
hours. Yeah, so thank you for all of that. gonna need to have some discussion. Thank you, Senator DeWitt, for your conversation this morning on Senate Bill 818. It is the new revised sexual education mandate for K-12. And while people may have many different views, for the community, as a superintendent for the community I serve, I have to say this is troubling to ask some of the things that they're asking. I won't go into detail, but I will say, so that everyone is aware, that LUDA is opposed to this legislation. The Illinois Association of School Boards is opposed. The Illinois Principals Association is opposed. ISB is opposed to this legislation. Parents, I would recommend that you take a look at Senate Bill 818. And just knowing the people I work for, I would imagine everyone on this panel is opposed to, I'm just gonna speak for you. You guys are opposed to that bill. And so parents, you may wanna reach out on Senate Bill 818. It's a little troubling. So, wanted to thank, lastly, I want to thank Melinda, what's Melinda's last name? McBride. Trying to consolidate resources for parents in the summer. I think our new website should be live next month, but in the meantime, wanted a place for parents to go to quick, good electronic resources for your students, and so she made us a parent resource center with all of the great links, 7 pages, Cincinnati Zoo, British Museum, BBC Learning, Air Piano, ABC Math, just clever. So many resources just so that parents, while you are looking to provide enrichment and reteaching experiences for your students, we wanted to give you a consolidated place to do so. And so Melinda McBride, thank you so much for doing that for our parents. It is available under the parent tab now. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Board comments?
One, Dr. Ashton, this morning, the Danville School Foundation provided Mr. Adam Owens of Mead Park with a grant of $4,200 for the purchase of instruments for his classroom. And I would just like to take this opportunity to encourage our staff to avail themselves of the opportunity to submit grants to the school foundation. The message I got was, we have dollars that we want to get into the hands of teachers. And in order to do that, they need to submit grants. So again, congratulations, Adam, on your grant. And this is, I don't remember, but I'll try to get back to the board. Maybe Dr. Geddes could help me, but there were 2 grants provided a couple weeks ago, or a month ago maybe. One was to the high school for social studies, and both of those grants were in the thousands of dollars as well. So please take advantage of it, staff. Thank you.
Bob Richard has $3 million. Help us spend Bob Richard's money. I'm glad you said that, because every time we start that board meeting, he starts off telling everyone how much money I have. So I would like to return the favor. Bob Richard has $3.5 million in the public foundation. Please let us help spend that money for Bob Richard.
Well, and since you brought that up, Dr. Geddes, I would encourage our district to, as we are looking at facilities, of having the foundation have a seat at that table, because they can help us with some of those extra supplies or extra equipment, especially if we're looking at a science lab or a family consumer science lab. Notice I got my family consumer science back in there again. The foundation will be an excellent resource. We just need to have them at the table. So I would hope that that would be encouraged by our administration.
Well, it will be a public meeting. And so, Mr. Richard, we welcome you to the table with your $3.5 million. Come on in and join us.
I would just like to say congratulations to Denver High School Band. Yesterday evening, their concert, I really enjoyed it. I thought the kids did an excellent job. The thing is that because of what they've been through in the last year and a half, to see those kids out there excited and and I should say band and flags, because the flags were also performed. And I just say thank you to that staff. You've did a yeoman's job with all the obstacles that you've had to work through. But, and I'm hoping that parents and students will look at the band for next year and see our numbers go up, because these kids are dedicated. And great job, great job.
Thank you.
I just wanted to extend a thank you to Dr. Sharma Lewis and Dr. Maynard, who were the superintendents who I personally spoke with, and I know that Ms. Holleran and Ms. Carey also spoke with superintendents. There's so much exchange of information among the superintendents throughout our state. And if people only knew how much Dr. Geddes has sewed into the other superintendents in the state as well. She's had many opportunities and taken many opportunities to speak and present, and some of our staff has seen her there. There's just been so much in the middle of this pandemic season where we've just been lean but worked faster as a state, and I'm just proud to have been a part of it. And I appreciate very much the time that these two superintendents spent with me. And I also just wanted to remind everyone about the CTE summer camp that's coming up for the high school. It is for any incoming freshmen. And so it's several weeks. You're going to get to do a lot of neat things, hands-on creating and constructing things. I don't even have the papers right in front of me, but if you are a student who does not think you're going to be able to even spend a lot of time in woodshop or something like that, this is your chance to actually try it out and see it. So I would encourage anyone who is not a hands-on learner, so maybe you're, I don't know, all the music kids, go out and build a birdhouse or make some chopsticks this summer. Try something brand new and stretch yourself a little, because this is a big opportunity that just you can't get anywhere else. So, and it's offered to you, Danville High School students, for free. So,
Mrs. Schrader, could you please tell the public what CTE is?
yes,
Thank you.
Career and Technical Education. Am I right, Dr. Jacoby? Did I get it? Yes. So it's what we would think of as shop, or what we would think of as auto mechanics. And if you're a student, if you're a middle school parent and you have a student, or even a high school student or parent, and you have a student who's kind of interested in that type of thing, and maybe that's what they want to do, maybe they're not going to be a college-bound student. We have programs that are teaching these kids amazing things. Call the school and ask to be able to find out more about that information, and they will totally surprise you with the incredible things that your students can do. Really, really interesting, and it's just one more way that we are trying to serve every student in our district. I'm very proud of our CTE program.
Thank you.
Mr. Hart, have we had any development with any new pre-K grants?
Yes. Mr. Doubles, thank you for asking.
With what?
Pre-K.
There is a
Pre-K.
new grant that we have the opportunity to apply for that would provide summer school, like a transition from pre-K to kindergarten for the 4 weeks prior to the beginning of the school year. And we have not made a decision on whether we will apply or not. It will depend on the number of students and the number of staff that we have available for that program. So, and who registers. So there's actually, we have 3 opportunities, 3 different grants that summer school fits into for pre-K.
Anything on any new development on facilities?
Not at this time. I know right now it's still, the state of Illinois keeps saying that there's money there. The governor's office has combined all early childhood money, and they say it's coming, so hopefully soon. Fingers are crossed.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Chancellor?
No comments.
Mrs. Allen?
Thank you. I have a couple. First of all, in our audience is one superwoman, we have many, but Molly Bailey, thank you so much for all you do. I have been working with you on a couple of other projects for social emotional well-being, and Dr. Tan out of the University of Illinois is a professor. He wrote a grant for counseling services, but you do the legwork, and he couldn't have been more complimentary of how easy you are to work with, how well you know our district, and kudos to you, because you wear a lot of hats and you pull them off really well. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I have a question for you afterwards. Someone had asked me about that. And then lastly, at the end of the last board meeting, something was said about ethnicity report numbers for Northeast School. And nothing was followed up on that today, but I certainly feel that a follow-up is important because of the number of phone calls that I received and the amount of concern that I had over that issue. So here at the very end of the meeting, that may not be appropriate, but we certainly do need to have the discussion. I went to visit the school. I had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Thornton. We looked at the ethnicity reports. We looked at the state school report card. We looked at opportunities available for volunteer hours. I learned that, in fact, the last 2 years, no volunteer hours were required because of the situation that we're in. Prior to that, something like 232 opportunities were available for parents of all kinds of things. I learned a lot going to the school. So I don't know where the issue stands, but I do think that we need a follow-up. We just don't put something out like that and then not do a follow-up. So as a board member, I'm requesting that we do in fact address that issue.
There was a follow-up.
Here at tonight's meeting?
Oh, I don't know about the meeting, but I did get my follow-up. I want you to know that. I got answers to my questions.
I want the public to know, since that had gone, kind of that information had gone to the public.
Okay. Well, thank you. We'll follow up.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No? You okay?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just a quick question, Dr. Getz. You know, for social workers, we're always looking for social workers, I guess, okay? And have there been any changes in the rules? Do you still have to have same certification? Or is there any way to use social workers who have maybe a master's in social work but are not certified school social workers? Any way to use them in any of our ESSER cycles?
Well, there are a number of ways to be creative, but the certified position requires a certification.
Yes,
So
I understand that.
I can't do that. But certainly, we can partner as the documentation suggests. We can create partnerships. And for example, I know Step Up in the community and Carl and Southern Illinois Healthcare Foundation and OSF, they are partnering to be able to maybe get a consulting agreement and to do some virtual things with us. That still is in the making, and we can take advantage of those. We can be creative, but for the exact position, we do require the certification still. But we can be creative in providing social and emotional learning supports.
Because that was that was one of the main goals with the, whatever that number was, P80 or something.
P20.
P80.
Okay, something. Mr. Hart, do we now pay for internships for?
We do, for psychs and social workers.
Uh-huh.
We do, and actually, I can't even tell you the price. Last I knew, it was 15.
18.5, and psychs are 22.5.
More than 10.
And we're actually still one of the few, we're one of the few districts that
More than
continue to pay
18.5?
interns.
More than starting
I
salary
think
for
when we started paying interns, I think it's
For the
Champaign,
intern.
that now pays their interns again, right? Is
Mm.
it Champaign? Somebody just added on. There's very few. Oh, I think you're right.
Is this an internship for a year-long internship?
It's a
semester,
year-long.
internship? Okay.
I'm
And
sorry.
Mr. Henderson has proposed actually even more than that to attract interns to our area, which
What's the salary for the intern?
18,500.
Ms. Paps, what's the starting salary for TA?
16,000. And some odd change.
Just saying.
Just Just saying.
Just saying, okay, we will have a meeting next Wednesday.
Wednesday, facilities committee.
Facilities committee meeting, which will be us, and that will be next week at 5:30. That is not on your regular schedule, but it is now. So that will be the next meeting of our Board of Education. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming this evening.
Please turn your mics off.
I did.
Yeah.